Thomas, good to see you. We are talking about the retirement red zone, 5 money moves before you creep into that zone. It, of
Mhm.
course, is the red zone because everything matters the 3 to 7 years before you retire.
Mhm.
So, depending on your investment decisions and market fluctuations, it can have a big impact on the rest of your financial security. So, the first step is to define your budget and expenses. And only 40% of people have ever calculated what they'll need to live on in retirement.
Yeah, I think that's huge. What does your lifestyle look like? What type of expenses you're going to accrue in retirement? It's important to sit down and think about that. Are you going to be traveling a lot? Do you still own your home? Do you own your home rather? And is the mortgage paid off? What are your living expenses? It's important to sit down and think about that.
hmm And
Mhm.
then next, of course, you need to define your guaranteed sources of income.
Yeah, that's huge, right? I like to look at if you're whatever you generate now in income, looking at potentially 80% of that in retirement. And what are those sources of income? Is it going to be is it going to be investment income? Is it going to be Social Security? Is it going to be maybe rental income? Just being able to look at to see exactly how you're going to be getting paid out over your retirement.
hmm
Mhm.
Right. And then when you've completed 1 and 2, you know what's going out, you know what's coming in, you can figure out whatever that discrepancy is and then build an income plan to bridge the gap.
For sure. That's huge, right?
Yeah.
So if you're going to be thinking about 80% of income, right? But yet Social Security only takes about 40% of that. And then your income, your current investments are about 40% of that, then or 30% of that, then you may have a 10% gap. And how do we fill that gap?
Right.
That's important for us to think about and sit down and visit with me, and I'll be able to help you think about that.
hmm And we do want to circle back on Social Security
Mhm.
because when to claim is going to be one of the most important decisions you make in retirement. And again, Thomas, I know this is something that you specialize in.
For sure, huge. I've done multiple Social Security seminars. Depending on when you claim, you can see a reduction in your income as much as 25%, or you can see an increase as much as 32%. So being able to strategically look at that can actually create, hundreds of thousands of dollars later in life when you most
Mhm.
need it. Mhm.
Right. And then last, you do need to consider taxes, which will be one of your biggest expenses in retirement. But the good news is
Mhm.
you can take action now to lessen your tax burden in retirement.
Absolutely. A lot of people don't think about that, especially when you start generating, RMDs later in your 70s, or maybe a spouse passes away, you're in a higher tax bracket. So I like to look at the tax diversification triangle. What buckets are your money in right now? Some of them are in tax deferred, tax free, and then also taxable accounts. So we want to make sure that we allocate appropriately so that we can reduce the taxation later in life.
hmm So, Thomas, if somebody wants to talk to you more about how to make these really important money moves before they creep into the retirement red zone, what's the
Mhm.
best way to reach you?
Yeah, definitely reach out to me. You can go to my website, martinheritagegroupllc.com. You can give me a call, 651-503-6064. You can also shoot me an email at info@martinheritagegroupllc.com. And then I'm also on all social media platforms at Martin Heritage Group.
Great. Thomas, thank you.
Thank you.